You already know something is wrong. You feel it every morning. That quiet weight in your chest. That space between who you are today and who you know you could become. Maybe you have tried books, courses, new routines, bursts of motivation, and for a moment it feels hopeful. Then everything slips back. Because you are trying to renovate a house built on a broken foundation. You cannot upgrade your way out of an identity that was never truly yours. Most people spend their whole lives polishing a version of themselves they inherited from family, from friends, from fear. They call it growth. But it is not. It is maintenance. Real transformation does not begin with adding more. It begins with letting something die. This is where Stoicism Breath starts to speak to your soul. Change does not mean becoming a better version of the same person. It means becoming someone entirely different. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius rewrote himself in the middle of war. Epictetus rebuilt his mind while enslaved. Seneca found clarity in exile. They did not simply improve. They let the old version of themselves burn away, and they rose again. That is what this journey is. A death. A void. A rebirth. It is not comfortable. It is not fast. And much of it, you will walk alone. So if you are ready to stop pretending and start becoming, stay with me. Because what comes next will either wake you up or scare you away. And honestly, both are exactly what should happen. Here is the truth most people avoid. The person you are right now is probably your biggest obstacle. Not your job. Not your relationships. Not your circumstances. You? And I do not say that to shame you. I say it to free you. Because the version of you that exists today was built under conditions that no longer serve you. You were shaped by people who did not know better. By environments that rewarded comfort over courage. By a culture that taught you to fit in instead of stand apart. You absorbed their fears, their limits, their beliefs. And over time, you started calling those things you. But they are not you. They are just patterns. And patterns can be broken. Marcus Aurelius wrote this in his private journal, alone on a battlefield. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Let that sink in. He did not say you have power over your past. He did not say you can control who hurt you or what you lost. He said you have power over your mind. And your mind is where your identity lives. That is the first fire you must light. The stories you keep telling yourself about who you are, what you are capable of, and what you deserve. Those stories have to burn. Maybe you are holding on to a version of yourself that feels safe because it is familiar. Even if it makes you miserable, at least you know it. At least you can predict it. And prediction feels like control. But it is not control. It is a cage. The Stoics call this attachment. We attach to outcomes we cannot control. To people who cannot save us. To identities we have already outgrown. And we suffer because we refuse to let go. Epictetus said it clearly. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to stop worrying about things beyond the power of your will. So let me ask you something real. What are you still clinging to that you have no power over? Approval from people who do not understand you. Old routines that numb you instead of challenge you. A belief that you are too broken or too late to start again. Whatever it is, this is where it ends. Because the life you want does not begin with comfort. It begins with courage. And today, right now, is where that courage starts. Maybe it is the approval of people who do not truly understand you. Maybe it is the comfort of routines that numb you instead of challenge you. Maybe it is the belief that you are too old, too damaged, or too late to start again. Whatever it is, it has to go. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Now. Because here is the paradox. You will never feel ready to let go of the old you. That version of you will fight to survive. It will offer excuses, rationalizations, and fear-based reasons to stay small. And if you listen to it, you stay stuck. At Stoicism Breath, we call this the burning. And the burning is not a single dramatic moment. It is a decision you make again and again. It is waking up and choosing discomfort over distraction. It is walking away from people who pull you backward. It is deleting the apps, ending the conversations, and closing the doors that keep you tied to a life you have already outgrown. Seneca warned us about this. He said to associate with people who are likely to improve you. Not people who keep you comfortable. Not people who validate your excuses. People who challenge you to grow. And sometimes that means walking alone for a while. Let me be direct. If the 5 people you spend the most time with are not challenging you, inspiring you, or holding you to a higher standard, then they are anchoring you to mediocrity. And you need to leave. Not because they are bad people, but because you are trying to become someone they may never understand. This is the hardest part of the burning. It is not just habits and distractions. It is people, relationships, history, shared memories. But if those connections are built around the old you, they will resist the new you. And you will have to choose. Most people choose familiarity. They choose being liked over being free. They choose fitting in over standing alone. And they stay exactly where they are. You cannot do that anymore. Because transformation is not about addition. It is about subtraction. It is stripping away everything that is not truly you until all that remains is your raw, unfiltered core. And that core is stronger than you think. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Stop debating. Stop planning. Stop waiting for permission. Burn the bridges. Burn the excuses. Burn the old identity. And walk into the fire with your eyes open." After the burning comes the void. This is the part nobody warned you about. The silence. The emptiness. The terrifying realization that you are standing alone in a space where nothing feels familiar and no one is coming to save you. This is where most people turn back. They panic. They grab their phone. They text the ex. They jump back into the group chat. They fill the silence with noise. Because silence forces you to confront yourself. And most people are not ready for that. But you have to be. Because solitude is not the enemy. Solitude is the forge. It is where real transformation happens. Not in motivational videos. Not in crowded gyms. Not in groups that cheer you on while secretly hoping you stay at their level. Solitude is where you meet the real you. The one beneath the performance. Beneath the mask. Beneath the version you show the world because you think that is what people want to see. And here is the truth. That real you is probably uncomfortable. Probably messy. Probably carrying wounds you have ignored for years. But it is also powerful. And you will never access that power until you are willing to sit alone with yourself and listen. Epictetus understood this. He was born a slave, physically disabled, owned by another human being. Yet he became one of the greatest philosophers in history. How? He mastered himself. He wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. He had no control over his body, no control over his circumstances, but he had total control over his mind. And that was enough. That is what solitude teaches you. That freedom does not come from changing the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. And this is where your real rebuilding begins. But here is what most people miss. Inside that discomfort, there is also incredible power. And you will never access it until you are willing to sit alone with yourself and truly listen. This is something Stoicism Breath teaches deeply. Epictetus understood this better than anyone. He was born into slavery, physically limited, owned by another human being. And yet, he became one of the greatest philosophers in history. How? He mastered himself. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. He had no control over his body, no control over his circumstances, but he had total control over his mind. And that was enough. That is what solitude teaches you. When you strip away distractions, validation, and constant noise from the outside world, you are forced to go inward. And inward is where your freedom lives. But let us be honest. At first, solitude feels like loneliness. There is a difference. Loneliness is the pain of wanting connection you do not have. Solitude is the choice to be alone because you know that is where the real work happens. Loneliness is reactive. Solitude is intentional. And if you are serious about rebuilding yourself, solitude is not optional. You need space. Space to think. Space to feel. Space to unlearn the lies you have been telling yourself and rewrite your story. You cannot do that in a crowded room. You cannot do that while trying to please people who still see you as the person you used to be. This is why outgrowing people hurts so much, and why it is necessary. There are people in your life who love the old you, not because they are bad, but because the old you made them feel safe. The old you did not challenge them. The old you stayed small, so they did not have to face their own stagnation. And when you begin to change, they will resist. They will call it selfish. They will say you have changed, and they will mean it as an insult. They will try to pull you back into old patterns, old conversations, old dynamics that keep everyone stuck. And you will have to walk away. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Seneca said it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. You are not poor because you walk alone. You are poor if you stay in relationships that drain you just to avoid the discomfort of solitude. So you let go. You outgrow. You break the emotional cycles that kept you repeating the same patterns with different people. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to watch people you care about stay in the same place while you move forward. It hurts to realize that some relationships were built on a version of you that no longer exists. But that pain is the price of freedom. Here is what nobody tells you. The void gets easier. At first, you panic. You question everything. You wonder if you made a mistake. You feel tempted to go back. But if you stay in the void long enough, something shifts. You begin to enjoy the silence. You start to trust yourself. You realize you do not need constant validation, approval, or company to feel whole. You become self-sufficient. And that is when real power begins. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort for this exact reason. They fasted. They exposed themselves to cold. They slept on hard floors. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood that discomfort builds resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Translation: the thing you are avoiding is often the thing you need most. The discomfort of solitude, the pain of letting go, the fear of walking alone. These are not obstacles. They are the path. So stop running from the void. Stop filling it with distractions, noise, and people who do not understand what you are trying to build. Sit in it. Feel it. Let it reshape you. Because on the other side of the void is not emptiness. It is clarity. It is strength. It is you, unfiltered, unbroken, and ready to build something real. Now we build. You have burned the old identity. You have walked through the void. You have sat with yourself in silence and come out the other side. Now comes the hardest part. Sustaining it. Because here is the truth most self-help content will never tell you. Motivation is a lie. It feels good. It gets you started. It gives you that rush of possibility at 2 in the morning when you swear tomorrow everything changes. But motivation fades. Always. And this is where Stoicism Breath reminds you. Transformation does not come from feeling inspired. It comes from showing up when you do not feel like it. Here is your rewritten script in natural American English, pure text, no special characters, ready for AI voice. But here is the truth nobody prepares you for. Motivation always fades. One day you wake up exhausted. You have a bad morning. Someone criticizes you. You do not see results fast enough. And suddenly that fire you felt is gone. This is where most people quit. They confuse the absence of motivation with the absence of progress. They think that if they do not feel like doing the work, it does not count. But it is the opposite. The work matters most when you do not feel like doing it. That is when discipline steps in. And discipline is the only thing that lasts. At Stoicism Breath, we remind ourselves of what Epictetus taught long ago. First decide who you want to become. Then do what you have to do. Not what you feel like doing. What you have to do. Because the new version of you is not built on inspiration. It is built on repetition. It is built on showing up every single day, whether you want to or not, until those actions become your identity. Let me make this practical. You do not need flexible feel-good routines that only work when life is easy. You need unshakable routines. Non-negotiable systems that operate no matter how you feel. The Stoics lived this way. Marcus Aurelius journaled daily to organize his thoughts. Seneca reviewed his actions every evening. Epictetus taught his students to constantly examine their reactions. They did not do this because it felt good. They did it because it worked. Repetition programs the mind. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen a new neural pathway. You train your brain to default to strength instead of weakness. Over time, this becomes automatic. You stop debating whether to work out. You just do it. You stop negotiating with yourself about focus. You remove quitting as an option. This is how identity changes. Not through dramatic breakthroughs. Through small, boring actions repeated day after day. James Clear explained it perfectly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your goals mean nothing if your daily systems are weak. So build strong systems. Wake up at the same time every day. Train your body even when you do not feel like it. Read, write, create, reflect. Do the hard thing first before your mind has time to talk you out of it. Now here is something most people misunderstand. Emotional control does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means refusing to let your feelings control your actions. You can feel tired and still train. You can feel anxious and still create. You can feel lonely and still choose solitude over distraction. The Stoics practice something called negative visualization. They imagine worst-case scenarios in advance so they would not be shocked by them. Seneca would imagine losing his wealth, his status, even his health. Not to be pessimistic, but to build resilience. Because when you have already faced the pain in your mind, it loses its power over you. You can do this too. Before your day starts, visualize the obstacles. Visualize the moment you will want to quit. Visualize the excuse your mind will offer. Then decide in advance how you will respond. This is mental rehearsal. And it works. When that moment comes, and it will, you will recognize it. And instead of reacting like the old you will act like the person you are becoming. Now let us talk about work ethic. Work ethic is not about destroying yourself. It is not hustle culture. It is not toxic productivity. It is about showing up for yourself with the same respect and intensity you would give someone you truly care about. Because right now, you are rebuilding. And rebuilding requires energy, focus, and commitment. You cannot afford to do this halfway. You cannot afford to mentally check out while your body is still present. You cannot afford to waste hours scrolling while your future waits. At Stoicism Breath, we believe this. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting to feel ready. You act first. And through action, you become strong. Every hour you numb yourself. Every hour you avoid the work. Every hour you scroll or distract yourself is another hour the old you wins. So treat your work, whatever that work is, like it matters. Because it does. At Stoicism Breath, we remind ourselves of Seneca's powerful words. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. You do not need more time. You need to stop wasting the time you already have. Build routines that protect your energy. Eliminate distractions. Create environments that make discipline easier and weakness harder. And most importantly, learn to turn pain into power. Every moment of discomfort is data. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is a test to see how serious you really are. The old version of you would have quit by now. The new you does not even consider it. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. The obstacle in the path becomes the path. What stands in your way becomes the way forward. So stop seeing obstacles as reasons to quit. See them as confirmation that you are on the right path. Easy paths do not build strong people. Hard paths do. So embrace the grind. Embrace repetition. Embrace the quiet days when nobody is watching and nothing feels exciting. Those are the days that matter most. And now here you are. You burn the old you. You walked alone through the void. You build discipline into your bones and made discomfort your teacher. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, you became someone different. Not better. Different. You no longer chase validation the way you used to. Silence no longer scares you. You do not reach for distractions when life gets hard. You learn how to sit with yourself, how to trust yourself, how to rely on yourself. That is the rise. But let me be clear about something. This is not a destination. There is no finish line where you declare yourself rebuilt. The new you is a practice, a commitment, a choice you make every single day. Because the old you is still there, waiting, whispering, offering the comfort of regression whenever things get difficult. And you will be tempted. There will be days when discipline feels too heavy, days when solitude feels too lonely, days when the road ahead feels too long. But you will not go back, because now you know too much. You have seen what is possible when you take full responsibility for who you become. You have felt the power of living by your own standards instead of someone else's. And you cannot unsee that. Epictetus said it best. First decide who you will be, then do what you have to do. You decided. You acted. Now you live it. The clarity you earned in solitude becomes the foundation for everything you build next. The strength you forge through discipline becomes the armor you wear when the world tries to break you. You are no longer who you were. And that is not something you announce. It is something people feel when they are around you. You do not need to prove it. You do not need to explain it. You simply are. So keep walking. Keep building. Keep choosing the hard path over the easy one. Because the person you are becoming is not finished. They are just getting started. Now go. No permission needed. If you are ready to destroy what is holding you back and rebuild with discipline and clarity, leave a comment saying the old me burns today. Subscribe to Stoicism Breath and turn on notifications. Your transformation does not end here. It accelerates. Thank you for walking this path. Stay relentless.